Welcome to episode 10 of the MDF Midseason Review. We are looking at Sandtiger, our only true mid-ladder team currently not in the playoffs but with an opportunity to make it. Record sitting at 8 and 8 with an all-league record of 57 and 47, giving us an implied record of 8.8 to 7.2. Points for 840, points against 793, max points for 994, realized points 85%. Really, all of those numbers are kind of middle of the pack, which speaks to the record that we're seeing above. Um, Strength of schedule thus far has been ninth, so just below average. Strength of schedule remaining fifth, just above average. Though that strength of schedule remaining, it I mean, given how we've seen a stratification of the league thus far, of basically haves and have-nots in the second half here, we've got three tough matchups and three what would be easier matchups. Um, Week 9, we've got FF Prez sitting at 5 and 11, and that's going to be one where it's almost a must-win 2 and 0. At the very least, you got to beat Median, and if you lose a head-to-head in an unfortunate situation, so be it. Because got to win that one so that you can set yourself up for tough weeks 10 through 12, which is really the make or break part of the season here for Sandtiger. Weeks 10 through 12, we see the James Gang, Devil, and Connor B. Three of the playoff bound teams from the Macho division. Likely to be crossing over to face the Hogan division. Number two will be one of the squads from up there. It is worth remembering each division does get at least two playoff spots. Sandtiger's currently sitting third in the Hogan division and seventh overall. Um, More than likely, it's going to be a situation where the path to the playoffs is to track down Shabalski and take that second spot in the Hogan division, as Sandtiger is sitting 2 games back of that spot, 4 games back of the fourth place squad in the top. So getting one of those wild card spots is going to be more difficult than simply just getting the second place spot in the Hogan division. You add to that Shabalski's recently had issues with quarterback injuries, losing Cousins and potentially Stafford, though this has been somewhat addressed at this point by trading Cousins away in a deal that brought back Deshaun Watson. It's still a situation where there was stability at the QB2 spot behind Tua. There's a little bit of uncertainty now. Watson has, quite frankly, just not been good or not been healthy for since joining the Browns. So whether or not Watson can turn around is going to be a real big question mark for Shabalski, where previously Cousins was a pretty locked and loaded option at that QB2 spot. So there's an opportunity there for Sandtiger, a little cracking of the door to catch up there. And Sandtiger has taken steps to address his squad as well. He's been a imitation of what Devil's done, running with one quarterback all year, running with just Purdy. Probably more what we would typically expect to see for a team having to run with just one quarterback. So adding Baker Mayfield recently, who is currently the QB 18 on the year and perfectly fine QB 2, is going to solidify this lineup and lead to a lot more consistency in weekly scoring. So, revisiting that tough schedule, the make or break schedule, weeks 10 through 12, there is some level of fortuitousness in terms of the timing of the meetings. Sandtiger has no meaningful buys weeks 10 through 12. Meanwhile, the James Gang in week 10 will be down Waddle, Goddard, and if he were to be back healthy, Kyron Williams. So we're not going to see James Gang's best lineup. Week 11, Sandtiger's got the fortunate aspect of seeing Devil on the week where his only quarterback, Derek Carr, is on bye. So unless Devil can stumble into a bye-week filler quarterback through the waiver wire, uh, there's an opportunity there to be facing a 7-man lineup and an empty quarterback slot. So a little better opportunity over that stretch than would originally seem just looking at the opponents, but it's definitely a stretch that probably needing a winning record at the very least need to go 500 to have a good chance at the playoffs. Um, with 6 weeks to go, 12 results to be had, an 8 and 8 record, unlikely to make the playoffs at a 500 14-14. So gonna probably need to rip off at least an 8-4 down the stretch. Even that might not be enough. 9-3, 10-2 likely would give us a pretty good chance of seeing the playoffs, but even then, it is dependent on what the squads ahead of Sandtiger do. Unfortunately, Sandtiger does not control their own destiny, but obviously, a strong finish to the season will make a big difference. Top dynasty assets, we've got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Saquon Barkley, Tony Pollard, Brock Purdy, Michael Pittman. A nice mix of positions there. Um, Couple game changers. I mean, it's hard not to consider Amon-Ra and Saquon game changers at their positions. Tony Pollard has obviously been a bit disappointing this year. There's something to be said for the fact that the Cowboys have played almost no normal games. They're either blowing teams out or getting blown out for the most part. Additionally, the schedule has been a little tough for the RB position, so Tony Pollard's schedule seems to lighten up and for the second half of the NFL season. We very well may see a resurgence of Tony Pollard. Brock Purdy has recently struggled after a absolutely scorching start to his career. It's hard to read too much into that, but definitely something to keep an eye on. And Michael Pittman's got a bit of a Gardner Minshew problem. Gardner throws the ball; he's more than willing, but the first read percentage and the efficiency of the offense for those first read percentages are probably not as good as when A-Rich was in there. As far as 2024 picks, does not own their own second, but does have a second, two-thirds, two-fourths, and a fifth. No first-round pick, as this was used in a off-season trade that brought in Barkley and Dak Prescott. Um, Dak was later moved, but not neither here nor there. As far as season review player values thus far, Brock Purdy has been very, very good despite recent struggles. 0.92 lands him in the elite category. This is where the squads likely found themselves at 8-8. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Saquon Barkley probably expected to be elite contributors, though they have been rather good, still just falling into the starter level of production. Brian Robinson, Tony Pollard, and Tony Pollard preseason, if you asked most individuals, they would have expected elite production out of Tony Pollard as well. He's right down there at 0.44. So between Amon-Ra, Saquon, and Tony Pollard, though they've been good contributors, they've put up points. It's not the level that you would have hoped for coming into the season. And though obviously that is something that can bounce back, Amon-Ra clearly has that opportunity to be a really big contributor in a high-powered offense. That's likely something that needs to happen for this squad to leapfrog another team and make it into the playoffs. Tank Dell, Josh Reynolds, Hunter Henry kind of round those out. Nice to see 10 positive warp players. That's not something we see with the teams that aren't threatening for playoffs. So Sandtiger is almost in a tier of their own right now. Not up there with the 12 and 4 plus teams, but not down with the 5 and 11 and below teams. The last 6 games or 6 weeks of the season will be really interesting and telling to see where this team falls. This is a squad that's been in the league for the entirety of the duration. So we've got this is the fourth season. Has yet to crack the 500 mark despite coming very close in the past. So 2020 was a 12 and 14 team. 2021 was a bit of a tank year at 1 and 27, and then back up to 13 and 15 last season. It's gonna be interesting to see if this team can find another way to make a push towards adding talent. The second round pick being a projected late pick makes it difficult to make too big of a splash using picks, and majority of assets that have much value are important towards the squad scoring points already. So perhaps some cheaper veterans who are strong contributors or at least flex-worthy plays might be in the cards for the squad leading up to the trade deadline. But trade deadline being week 13, Sandtiger will know whether playoffs are likely or not by then. Uh, and so if not, probably not going to see any of those types of deals. But this might be a situation where to try and beef up for that weeks 10, 11, and 12, and to try and take advantage of the opportunities that are present there, this might be a team that's active a little earlier than some of the teams that are more locked into the playoffs that can afford to be a little bit more patient when bringing in talent. A team that was projected at 500 preseason, they are who we thought they were. They've pretty much come out and done exactly what preseason projections thought they would from a performance and record standpoint. This is one of those teams that definitely hasn't been scared to make trades in the past. So, though I'm talking kind of low level veteran edition trades, it wouldn't be absolutely shocking to see something maybe a little bit bigger, a little splashier. But it takes two to pull that off, and it's got to be a situation where we find the right partner, find the right seller who can bring in talent. Some of the teams that are destined for the lottery are looking to move talent, so there's things to be done there. It's been a bit of a slow build in this league thus far, but this last week we've seen a couple trades come through, and it's probably only going to get a little bit more prevalent as we get in a bit of an arms race between the contenders and the lottery teams. So yeah, Sandtiger. It's it's gonna be a a bit of a finish to the season here. It's gonna be an interesting grind to see where the next 4 weeks take us. If coming out of week 12, going into a softer last 2 weeks, Sandtiger's in good position, we can feel really good about this team making the playoffs. It's just a matter of surviving and performing over that time period. It'll help not having anyone on bye for those important 10 through 12 weeks. And if we can get the types of performances that we were expecting coming into the season out of your Barclays, out of your Pollards, and the sort, I think there is a chance that this team will surprise people and make its way into the playoffs and could even make a deep run. Till next time, peace out.